Hey everyone, this is Ken from Reynolds Piano, and this is a tutorial that I put together for a song called Just One Touch by Kim Walker-Smith from Jesus Culture. Just really a great song, and I want to show you how to play it on the piano. So let's get started. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go from section to section, starting from the beginning, and we'll just work our way through the song. So let's get started. In the intro, there's just a repeating triplet pattern that is played, and the notes are D, E, D, G, E, F sharp. D, E, D, G, E, F sharp. Okay? And then in the left hand, all you need to do is play up in the kind of the upper register for your left hand, right around middle C. You can play the bass notes. So the first couple measures, of course, would be a D with a D chord, right? And then measures 3 and 4 would be a G for the G chord, okay? So this is what it would sound like. Okay? Now it just repeats that through the rest of the intro, and then it actually does it for the whole first half of the verse. So I'm not going to play that for you since it's the same as the intro, but what we're going to do now is jump down to halfway through the first verse. There's an A chord and a B minor 7 chord. And this, you will see, is a different pattern in your right hand. And it goes like this. C sharp, D, F sharp. C sharp, D, F sharp. And basically it just repeats that over and over. And then again, just like you did in the intro with your left hand, same range, you play the A root note for the A chord, and then the B root note for the B minor 7. And this is what it sounds like. Okay? Now, the next chord is G, and this is also a new pattern. This pattern is B, C sharp, D, C sharp, D, F sharp. B, C sharp, D, C sharp, D, F sharp. And it would sound like this. Okay? Then you go back to the pattern that you used for the A and the B minor 7 again. All right, and then the pattern for the G that you just used. And that's the first verse. Now let's talk about the chorus. The chorus really calls for octaves being used in both of your hands. In your left hand, you're just playing bass notes, similar to the way you did it in the first verse, but this time you're playing bigger, louder a little bit, and in the lower range, and you're playing octaves. In your right hand, you're going to be playing in octaves as well, and there's a couple different patterns that it alternates between. The first pattern, right on the downbeat of the chorus, is B, C sharp, D, E, B, C sharp, D, E. All right, and so with the G in the left hand would sound like this. Okay? Now, in the next chord that you have is a D, and on the D there's a different pattern. That pattern is A, C sharp, E, F sharp. Here it is again. A, C sharp, E, F sharp. Okay? So it would sound like this with the left hand. Okay? Then it goes back to the like the same thing as the beginning measures of the chorus again. The B, C sharp, D, E, and then back to the second one. Then the first again. Okay, now the chords change here. There's a B minor 7, and then you're back to G, and then E minor 7. You just move with your left hand. Just keep playing the bass notes during each one of those measures, and you're just going to keep doing the two patterns. So on the B minor 7, well, starting with the G before the B minor 7, you have that first one again. All right, then the second. First again. And it goes back to the very beginning. The first ending has that little pattern in that you played during the intro and the first part of the verse. Excuse me, just had to get a drink of water. Okay, so that takes care of the first verse and the first chorus. Now, on a recording, it pretty much calls for the piano to do the same thing that you did for the first verse and the first chorus. Certainly you can do that and that will work, but sometimes I like to change things a little bit, and in this instance I felt like it was kind of thin, and if this would especially work if you're playing it with a smaller group maybe and you needed to fill it out a little bit more. Here I'm going to show you a couple alternate parts, and hopefully this will be helpful to you. So for the second verse then, you're going to use the same patterns that you did for the first verse, except you're going to play them an octave lower, and there's going to be a couple extra, what I like to call anchor notes, along with it. So I'll show you exactly what I mean. So the first, on the D chord, the beginning of the second verse, there's the two anchor notes are A and D. All right. Now you're going to hold those down, and as you hold those down, you're going to do the same pattern. All right. So like this, it's the one that goes D, E, D, G, E, F sharp. All right, and then just keep doing the same thing for the G. Okay, then when you come to the A and the B minor 7, the anchor notes are going to be A and C sharp. And so it'll sound like this. Okay, then the anchor notes for the G chord would be G and B. And again, you're going to do the same pattern that you did in the first verse, just an octave lower, along with the G and the B. And this is how it would sound. Okay, then same thing you did for the A and the B minor, you'll do again. And then the G pattern with the G and B. Okay, so that's just some alternate parts that you can play for the second verse. And now the second chorus, what I'd like to teach you is basically to just take the octaves that you played in the first chorus and play them an octave higher, and then add, along with the octave bass in your left hand, I want you to add a chord, and I'll show you exactly what it means. In fact, I'll show you the left hand first. All right, so the left hand, you have a G chord, right? So you play G octaves, and then you play a G in your left hand, just a G chord, like an octave higher. So you play G chord, right? And then you play D chord, then G chord, right? All right, then the same kind of thing as you go through. So G, then B with B minor 7. There it is. All right. Then G, E minor 7, and then D. All right. So as you're doing that, in your right hand, you're going to be playing these octaves an octave higher than you did. So this is what it would sound like all together. Well, let me show you just the right hand. So the right hand would just be up here. So that's what I mean by an octave higher. Okay? So all together now, this is what it would sound like. Okay, so that's just a little alternate part you could use for the chorus the second time. Now, the only thing left we have is the bridge and then the last chorus. And really, the best thing to do, I think, would be to play just straight chords for this. The bridge starts out kind of simple, right? It's kind of a down, what they call a down bridge, right? And so I would just say, just play the chords a little bit in the lower end of the piano, just because I think it needs that strength. All right. It's the D and the A, B minor, G, D, A. All right, then you have what's called a build. All right, so take it up a little bit as far as your inversions go, and you could start your B minor right here. All right, just right above middle C, and then the last thing is the chorus, and this is basically the climax of the piece, right? So again, play chords. I'm going to add a little bit in. I'll show you in a second, but this is what it would sound like. so I was doing a lot in there, and if you're playing with a whole group, you wouldn't do that much, of course, but you know, just playing it by yourself, some of the in-between stuff that I did really fills it out. Let me just show you a couple things. When I get to the D chord, I'm doing this little thing where I go A over D, D, and then G over D. So I'm going, and it may even be a little bit more of an E minor. For the G or that E minor, I'm using just the E and the G. So it'd be like, do it slow so you can see it. So there's the first one, second, third. So, all right, just a little embellishment there. All right, and then when you get to the B minor 7, you can do, that's just a little, I'm just outlining the B minor 7 chord, just a little. All right, and you could also do that same thing you did on the G on the B minor 7. All right. This is kind of how I like to play major chords when the music's really driving. It's just almost like a power chord for piano. As you can see, it's a G chord, but I'm not playing any root at all. In fact, I'm playing all fifths and fourths, and as you can see, it really cuts. You actually can just play those notes. They really work with almost every one of those chords. Okay, so hopefully that was helpful to you. I will provide a chart so you can follow along with this video, and if you have any extra questions, feel free to send me a comment, or you can even just email me at ken@reynoldspiano.com. And you can also, if you want, you can check out my website, which is reynoldspiano.com. Thanks so much for spending this time with me today, and hopefully this will be helpful to you.